What I don't get is you're supposed to write out your script out beforehand, but then after we do the shoot, then we're supposed to not have our script written because we're supposed to put our visuals down first and then write. So I don't get that.
That script is originally like a plan, right?
Yeah.
So it's just an estimate?
It's a shooting script, yeah.
Yeah, it's an estimate of what you need.
Your story research is done. Your research gave you your focus statement, and your focus statement gave you the who, the what, and the why, the reason for doing your story. Now, before you go out and shoot, it's time to write out a shooting plan. Work out on paper the different parts of the story, the story elements that you need to shoot.
After you finish the research, your next step is to sit down and try to figure out, now how can I shoot my television story and reach out to viewers through it? Let's get into the process. And the process begins, of course, as all journalistic stories do begin, with the facts, okay? You got your facts. Now what you have to do, you've done a whole lot of research, you got all kinds of stuff, all kinds of notes, but you're going to cull the most essential facts. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a little list up here, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And you're going to have about maybe 10 or 12 absolutely essential facts, and the most interesting ones that you must get into your story. The other thing you're going to have to do is the story elements. Now the story elements are made up of various things, okay? You've got your interview clips and you've got your visuals. And let me tell you, if your interview clips number more than about 3 or 4 there in an average news item, you've probably got too many. And if these don't add up like that to maybe a whole lot of, say, 5 or 6 or 7 sequences, not just shots, but sequences, well, you probably won't have as good a television story as you ought to have.
Right. I should also mention that I respect animals, but by the same token, I don't want to be banned as an immoralist or as a killer of animals, because I do not know where it will end.
And don't forget that we talked about this when we talked about point of view. Point of view, you need a character, a main character, or perhaps a couple of main characters, through whom you will tell the story, from whose point of view you will tell the story.
It's a month and a half until a big fur show at the Talisman Hotel. And animal rights activists Len Goldberg and Miles Finlayson have come calling. They're here to meet the hotel manager, George Cheban, and try to persuade him to cancel the show.
Yeah. Is it okay? Is now okay?
Of course, you've got your main character and you've got your subsidiary characters. And what that will come down to is that they will be part of your selection of interview clips. But what kind of clips will you choose? To choose clips that merely offer information is to do something that doesn't work in television. Each clip that you do choose will have to convey to the viewer that character's position or stand on a story. In other words, you're going to look for clips which reveal an emotion, an inspiration, a depth of feeling, a desire to sort of do something special. And if you choose something that reflects what's inside the character, then you're going to enhance the television story. Do not choose mere information clips.
If you carry the fur or the foie gras, then you're endorsing it as okay. You're saying it's okay to have these parts of tortured animals in our stores, and it's not okay from an ethical standpoint.
Every reporter has to have facts, and we've discussed that, but a grown-up reporter has something else. A grown-up reporter puts in context. Context is that which places a story in the framework, in the larger framework in which that story exists. Context could be historical. Context could be factual. Context could be adding in the kinds of things that explain the significance of a story.
Len Goldberg helped start Animal Action.
Because I didn't see any grassroots animal rights activism in Ottawa. There certainly was animal rights activity going on, but I didn't see anybody on the street.
And that's exactly where Animal Action has taken its campaign, staging protests to improve conditions for research monkeys at Health Canada and to clear local shelves of foie gras, a pâté made from the liver of goose or duck.
Visuals. Now visuals, unconnected visuals don't mean much. So what you have to do is to think about your story, get all those facts, and then deliberately set out to dream a little, okay? It's really important to dream a little. Unlock your mind. Start to see in your mind's eye how your characters walking through the story, so to speak, being discovered in situations. Dream a little as to how these characters can tell your story for you.
One of the group's next campaigns will focus on seafood stores.
Unfortunately, the seafood stores in Chinatown have subjected fish and crabs to just unbelievable misery. And there's nothing you can do for these animals right now because they have zero protection under the law.
Is there a way they can be stored so they're out, so they're not kind of crushing each other? I mean, it's an animal, it can feel pain.
Goldberg is visibly affected by what he sees, and the more he sees, the more his determination hardens.
Amongst all these elements here, there is one which I have learned how to value the most, and that's actuality. Actuality is that which you happen upon. Actuality is that which makes your story become real. You're in a march somewhere, you're following a demonstration. Somebody says something, you capture that. You got a close-up of a face, somebody says something. It could be a very ordinary story. You're sitting there in a room. A mother is talking about what she hopes to do with her life and her children's life. At that moment, her daughter, her little baby daughter, in her arms, kisses the mother on the cheek and says some little thing. That's actuality. If you write over that, you are committing a crime.
This was produced last year, and I just want to show you what an animal goes through in a so-called humane trap.
Goldberg uses videotape to try and win over hotel manager George Shaban.
There's a shameful scheme afoot.
There is something about seeing that seems to have a much more profound and moving effect on human consciousness and the human heart than hearing about it.
The truth is, there are no humane traps. Help stop it.
Thank you for taking the time to show me those films. Okay, and definitely I know now something which I didn't know before our meeting. I can tell you that after I have seen that film and after what you have explained to me, and all this one, the Talisman Hotel will not hold that for fashion. Okay, I will send the contract to our legal department and find a way to get rid of it. Okay, and after that there will be no more for fashion.
That's fantastic.
Okay,
thank you very much. That's very, very kind and compassionate.
I was as astounded as I've ever been as an activist.
What essentially makes a good television story is continuity. You want that story to start somewhere and to build. Okay? It's not like a print story which starts off with the most important stuff at the top. No. Television starts at a given point and the story builds, it unfolds, it builds, it unfolds. And it goes through all these nice creative elements and gets down to a compelling conclusion. Now, we're not talking about a big climax, but we're talking about a conclusion in which the viewer is left satisfied. Yes, the viewer says, I understand that story. I was moved by it, I was touched by it, but most of all, I understood it.
In preparation for that struggle, Len Goldberg occasionally pays a visit to a farm. This is where he gets his inspiration for the battles ahead.
What is the end goal? The end goal is a cruelty-free, animal-friendly society and planet.
Steve Fisher, CBC News, Ottawa.
So starting at 2:30, that's when we were supposed to meet Lisa there, and we're going to shoot her training the guy that she's a personal trainer, so the guy that she works with. We're going to shoot her and him first. Then we're going to do an interview with Lisa, and we're going to shoot her workout. Then at 4:30, her coach and her training partner arrive, so we do them. Then after that, that's it for the OAC. Then we go home with her, and we're gonna interview her husband at home, and we're gonna get shots of them making supper, just doing their everyday kind of thing at home.
Now you know what your story elements are. Make a list, a shot list of what you need to shoot. Interviews. Prepare the questions for all your interview subjects ahead of time.
Her house. The other thing I wanted to get was pictures of her when she was playing soccer before her kidney failure.
Okay, so give me a little bit of background about her, because I just know a little bit.
Okay, she's...
Visuals. From your pre-interviews with the participants, you will know the different activities you will have access to, the actuality and the sequences you need to build your story. Now organize all these story elements into a story structure so the story builds dramatically in a logical, chronological order that will make sense to the audience. You may want to make notes about the kinds of words that you will write for your script, but don't write any narration at this point. That's the last thing you do in editing, writing to pictures. Your story structure will tell you what pictures you need. Your shooting plan is to let the pictures tell the story.
Style weightlifting. Regan's training partner says Lisa's involvement in weightlifting also seems unusual to some people.
Do it, and certainly Lisa, as I say, has been in for about a year and a half, and she's a small, petite woman who's doing lots of weight.
Good. Charlevoix and Regan were married in June of '96. Regan was due to receive her father's